So today, HHS released a new report showing that the lowest number of Americans in history are uninsured. Today, just 8%. This progress did not happen by accident. More than 35 million Americans are enrolled in Affordable Care Act-related coverage. The highest total on record. That includes 21 million people who are enrolled in ACA's expansion of Medicaid, and 5 million more people have gained health insurance coverage since the beginning of the Biden-Harris administration, in large part because of the improvements to the ACA in the American Rescue Plan. In order to keep this progress moving forward, Congress should pass the Inflation Reduction Act, which will lock in an average of $800 per year savings in health insurance premiums for 13 million Americans and prevent 3 million Americans from becoming uninsured. Today, President Biden, as you all saw for yourselves earlier, joined Governor Gretchen Whitmer, members of the Michigan congressional delegation, and business and labor leaders to mark the signing of the governor's executive direction to implement the CHIPS and Science Act of 2022. This is just the first example of the federal-state partnership that will launch across the country as states leverage its once-in-a-century investment in their own states to bring in new projects and to create the project jobs. We will have, I know folks are wondering and asking, but we will have an announcement on the official signing of CHIPS and Science Act soon, which will lower the cost, as you all know, you've all heard us say, everyday goods, creating high-paying manufacturing jobs across the country, and strengthen our national security and U.S. leadership in the industries of the future. Lastly, a growing body, I'm sure you all saw, of economic experts have analyzed the Inflation Reduction Act and agree that it will lower cost, reduce inflation, and address a range of important and long-standing economic challenges. 126 leading economists, including 7 Nobel Prize winners, former Treasury secretaries, and a CBO director, and former CEA chairs wrote to Congress this morning endorsing the Inflation Reduction Act and calling for its passage. They wrote that these investments, and I quote, will fight inflation and lower costs for American families while setting the stage for strong and stable and broadly shared long-term economic growth, end quote. They note this package will, again, I quote, quickly and noticeably bring down healthcare costs for families and would be more than fully paid for, end quote. They also underline that the revenue raised to finance these investments would come exclusively from wealthy individuals and corporations. These are major priorities for the American people, including tax fairness, closing the tax loophole, as you heard us say, and where the president and congressional Democrats have a verified plan to fight inflation, congressional Republicans, on the other hand, are standing against these investments because they are more about protecting tax welfare for those who game the system than they do about curbing inflation. They are screaming bloody murder because this bill repeals sweetheart deals that let hedge fund managers pay for less income tax than the average American, or stop multi-billion-dollar corporations from exploiting loopholes to pay literally nothing, or stops shielding wealthy tax cheats taking advantage of everyone in this room. As you all know, this year, congressional Republican like Rick Scott proposing raising taxes on about 100 million middle-class Americans. 100 million middle-class Americans. Americans have a clear choice between these agendas and the values behind them. Do we attack inflation with the Inflation Reduction Act, which we know works or will work? Or do we extend the pain of inflation like congressional Republicans are arguing for because they think it's more important to let the wealthiest Americans and big corporations take advantage than all of us, and then to cut costs for the middle class? That's what we're left here. Those are the choices that we have to make. Okay, with that, Zeke?
Thanks, Karine.